Can the BRICS conference push silver prices to new highs, or is it all just hype? That's the question that we will examine today, and it is certainly a very interesting time in the silver markets. We had the price of silver today rising once again to the highest level in over a decade. The price of silver was over $34 today. In fact, it rose as high as $34.26. So we'll take a look at that. But more importantly, I want to tell you why right now, at least in the short term, I am beginning to approach silver's rally fairly cautiously. So let's get to it. Buy your gold and silver at SD Bullion. Right now, new customers can get gold or silver at spot by visiting sdbullion.com/new. Hey everybody, Smart Silver Stacker here. Hope you're doing well. So we need to talk about the BRICS conference, which is set to kick off tomorrow, October 22nd, and it's going to be running until Thursday, October 24th. So it is possible that at this meeting, some new plans or some new system or some new development by the BRICS nations could have a significant impact on both the dollar and the silver markets, as well as gold and other precious metals. But today I just want to focus on silver. And the reason for that is that right now, I think we need to be a little bit cautious. We had the big rally on Friday, silver spiking up over 6%, and then pretty remarkably in overnight trading, and earlier in the session today, we avoided the big smackdown. In fact, silver put on more gains today. And right now, as I'm recording this video, it's Monday night. And in the overnight session, silver is once again in the green. Right at the time I'm recording this, it's about 33.91. But I've got to tell you, when I saw the silver price this morning rise up to about 34.26 and then come right back down and go into the red, I realized that this rally that we're witnessing in silver might be getting a little bit overdone. Might just be getting a little overbought here in the short term. And I think that the BRICS conference, there's a couple of ways this could go, but I do have a feeling that this could very well be kind of a sell the news moment for the silver markets. Now, the reason I say that is I think that there's three ways the BRICS conference really could go. The first scenario is that the BRICS nations don't really do too much. The whole conference turns out to be a bit of a nothing burger. Maybe they pay some lip service to de-dollarization and the use of national currencies, but if they don't make any kind of major announcement, I think that there's been a bit of hype in the lead up to this thing, and that's been reflected in the silver price. Now, to be fair, there's other factors at work here as well. You have the fundamentals in the silver market, the deficits in the silver market, you have the massive expansion of debt, you have rate cuts. There's a lot of things that are contributing to the rally in silver. But I do think that this BRICS conference had something to do with the rather violent nature of the upward swing that we saw on Friday. And so if nothing major happens at the BRICS meeting, I do think it will be a sell the news moment, meaning given all the buildup to it that's already been priced into these markets, if no major developments occur, I think we could see a correction in silver. Now, how far could it fall? Well, the 32.50 level, I think, is going to be your initial support because that was resistance for a long time. Earlier in this 2024 rally, we witnessed the silver price bump up against that, and then recently, it has bumped up against it a couple of times too, before on Friday cutting through that resistance like a hot knife through butter. So if we do see the silver price sell off, 32.50 is probably going to be close to the bottom. So it's not going to be a huge correction. But if you're somebody out there who's been watching this rally and thinking, you missed out, even at $34, $35, $36, whatever, silver's still in the long term very cheap. Just look at the gold to silver ratio, the Dow to silver ratio. We've covered this stuff at length on the channel, but silver's still really cheap. But you might get a nice buying opportunity if the silver price does sell off on a fairly lackluster BRICS conference. Now, the other scenario that we could witness play out here is that if BRICS actually does deliver some kind of news about gold or silver or a new interbank payment system to rival SWIFT, if there is like noticeable movement in that direction and there's more than just discussion, there's some kind of meaningful agreement or steps that are taken, we could get sort of a buy the rumor, hold on for reality sort of scenario. So it's not buy the rumor, sell the fact, but it's more we might see a corrective sell-off before the long-term rally continues. But either way, I think that we're going to get a bit of a correction here moving forward in silver. That's just my gut feeling. And I mentioned back on October 8th that I had picked up some leveraged silver positions. I had bought some call options on silver, and I actually closed that out earlier today when the spot price was right around $34. And I'm glad I did that because I've still got all my physical silver. I've still got some paper positions in the miners, but There's really no reason to get greedy. Those January call options were up about 95%. So I did liquidate those just because I think that we need to be cautious here moving forward. And if you've got some dry powder and you've been thinking about buying some physical bullion, well, you might get an opportunity to do it here. Now, of course, the third scenario is that we get some kind of a significant update regarding possibly a gold-backed BRICS currency. Now, Vladimir Putin, in his lead up to this meeting, in his pre-conference remarks, has actually stated that it is premature for the BRICS nations to launch some kind of a currency like that because of the disparate nature of the BRICS nations' economies and just the logistical difficulties in putting this into practice. And so, I kind of take him at his word on that, not because I think he's a particularly trustworthy politician, but because I think that there's a vested interest amongst the BRICS nations if they do want to attempt to launch something like a gold-backed BRICS currency unit. They really have to do it right the first time. So they're not going to want to have a failed attempt at something like that. Cat is tearing around. Sorry for the background audio. There always is the possibility, I suppose, that this was just some kind of a ruse or a head fake by Putin. And if he tells us that there's not going to be a gold-backed currency, and then one is in fact announced or discussed, or progress is made towards that, then that could mean that the rally in gold and silver just goes parabolic. You could see an immediate bid for both of the precious metals in the wake of such an announcement. So, anything can happen at this point, but long term, not much has changed for silver. I just wanted to point out that I do think that there's been a lot of hype about this, and the precious metals have really risen significantly here. Gold taking out new record all-time highs above $2,700, and silver rising to $34 for the first time in over a decade. And silver did that in a very rapid ascent. So look, nothing goes up in a straight line, and barring some kind of a major development out of the BRICS conference over the next couple of days, I think that there is a good possibility we could see a shallow pullback, probably to around 3250 or so. And if that does indeed turn out to be support now, if the resistance at 3250 that we've been butting up against for months has turned into support, then that will ultimately be very bullish for silver moving forward on its way to not just taking out new decade highs, but new record all-time highs above $50, which I do believe we are headed towards in the relatively near future. Is that going to be before the end of 2024? Is it going to be by the end of 2025? Will it be in 2026? I'm not sure. I don't have a crystal ball. Certainly, it seems like the way things are going in the domestic economy, the rapid accumulation of debt and the exploding deficits and really no end in sight, regardless of how the election goes in November for that particular situation, I do think that the picture is clear for the precious metals in the long term. But in the short term, silver's a volatile metal, so you got to be prepared for these things. And look, if you are a stacker, maybe you just got involved in the hype. I was watching some of the other stacker channels on YouTube over the weekend doing some live streams and things like that. I was watching Ron's Basement and Salivate Metal, and it seemed like they had some very large live stream populations, which is great. I'm glad that people are paying attention to the channels on YouTube and to the silver market in general. But I think that this move up, this spike up, has drawn in a lot of attention to silver. And I'm afraid that, if we get kind of a sell-off here, people are going to be disillusioned. But you got to understand, silver is a very small market. There's a lot of manipulation that goes on. Right now, there's probably a lot of banks sitting on short positions that are sweating, and they're looking for a decline in the silver price now, maybe even to cover some of those short positions, because ultimately, they're not stupid. They know where the metals are going as well. And so that's going to support long-term higher prices as well. But in the short term, just be cautious. And if you do get a dip, it's not financial advice. I'm not telling you what to do, but I will be looking at that as an opportunity to get my hands on some more metal at a slightly discounted price. Because at the end of the day, with all this volatility in the silver price, the number of ounces in your stack, it doesn't go up and down, right? So just keep that in mind. And I try to think about my stack more in terms of ounces than in terms of fiat currency equivalent. So anyway, let me know what you think. How do you think the BRICS conference this week is going to play out? It kicks off in very short order, and we're going to start getting news out of there very shortly. So leave me a comment down below to let me know what you think about all of these developments, and I will catch you next time. Stay safe and happy stacking, everybody. Smart Silver Stacker out.